Hi, I'm Paola Ranova, creator of the Cardinal Method of Life Connection, and today we're going to talk about your fear, your guilt, and your shame of being an energy healing professional, a soul healing professional. So the first thing I want to say to you is that this was haunting my life. This had been haunting my life for a long time until I was able to pretty much overcome it. But we all have blockages regardless of the phase of life that we're in, right? But this was a ghost in my life even before I realized that I did want to pursue an energy healing career. First of all, before I even knew that I had psychic gifts and healing gifts, this was already haunting me because there is guilt, there is fear, there is shame about psychic gifts and energy healing gifts and everything metaphysical because of our culture, because of our past. There are many reasons. So this was a huge obstacle for me. It was a huge blockage. And one of the things that I want to say is that how did it start to dissolve in my trajectory, in my path? And hopefully this will be inspiring for you. I never ever thought that I would be an energy healing professional. I set up my life to be an intellectual, to be an academic, but at age 14, when I realized I had psychic gifts, I was feeling energies, and I did get help from my mom, from a wonderful priest that really helped me, from yoga, from my yoga master, but still, it was a pretty lonely road, right? And when we have energy healing gifts, when we have psychic gifts, we need to get the proper training. We need to get that energy aligned and organized. Otherwise, our lives are going to be very chaotic. I'll even create another video about this when the time is right to dive into that story. But what I want to say here is that I did love healing and the metaphysical world and psychic energies, right, and the soul, but I never really admitted it much in the beginning. When I was 21, I decided to take a tarot course. I got a tarot deck. I dove into the Enneagram. So I would dedicate 50% of my time to be an intellectual, which was the professional life I had chosen. But 50% of my time I would dedicate to the study of human nature in spirituality, and not just studying, but also living it. I would go to workshops because spirituality is not just about theory, right? You can know all the spiritual literature but not practice it. It's not really going to work. So I would really dive in. But most people did not even know that I loved spirituality. Some people did know that I would go to the waterfalls in Brazil where I used to live. And in the weekends, we would do breath work in the waterfalls. But they thought, okay, that's just a hobby. But I really wasn't owning it. And I remember in university that I was studying really hard to, absorb all that intellectual body of work. But I would also, on Sundays, for example, I would study from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. And from 7 to 9, I would study the work of Max Weber, who's one of my favorite authors up until this day. He's one of my greatest passions. And from 9 to 11, I would study astrology. For years, I would do that. I would really organize my time to contemplate both loves, right? The intellectual love and also the spiritual and soul healing love. So the thing is, when I moved to Florida, that was in 2014, I decided that I would dedicate myself 100% to energy healing, 100% to soul healing. In the beginning, it was all roses. I was so excited. I was taking courses. I was being supported by the local spiritual community. I would work in the beginning, I worked in 3 different places. I would take the crystals to 3 different places, and it was getting chaotic. I-95, the traffic. So I decided to create a healing space, a physical healing space, to bring the clients in and just be an energy healing professional. So in the beginning, I was really happy with all that, the investment, all of it. But then this happens when we decide to take the path of the higher self. In the beginning, the universe says, yes, this is you, go for it. We get all the support. It's these messages from spirit that are saying to you, you're on the right track. This is the flow of Dharma. Just keep flowing. But then after we've established ourselves and it's time to own it, Spirit says, now it's on you. And that's when I got a lot of short circuits. I was very scared because everything was word of mouth in the beginning of my practice. So when I had to create a YouTube channel and start to talk to strangers about energy healing and really own it, right? And people who knew me before as an intellectual who thought I was insane, to leave it all and play with crystals, which is something I heard from a businesswoman who was my client. And she actually, after that, she apologized because she was so happy with the session. She understood that energy healing is a very serious area, a very serious professional area. But anyway, I went short circuit many, many times. This is why I'm telling you, fear, guilt, and shame of energy healing were huge ghosts in my life for many years. I published the book, Your Cardinal Connections, the first Cardinal Method book, which is right there, if you can see the cover, only because my spiritual master here in Florida said, you need to bring the Cardinal Method to the world. But I almost had panic attacks in doing this, coming out of the closet with my spirituality, owning it as a public figure. And it was really intense. So I just want to say I needed validation from the world all the time. And it's not easy with energy healing. It wasn't. It's getting a lot better. So when we talk about fear, guilt, and shame of energy healing, observing myself, and after that, observing my clients and students, because now the Cardinal Method has many courses and there are many students and there are so many people with this dilemma who are still hiding and not really owning their energy healing gifts. Let me tell you what I have to say about fear, guilt, and shame of energy healing as a professional, beautiful career. Fear is mostly, I'm not saying it's the only reason, but it's mostly because we're thinking with the minds of our ancestors. So if you were born with energy healing gifts and psychic gifts, get the proper training so that it's not chaotic for you, but also know that this is in your DNA. You have ancestors who had energy healing gifts and psychic gifts, and it was passed on to you. It's a legacy. However, your ancestors likely did not have a chance to express their healing gifts and psychic gifts without being beaten by it, by judgment, by social pressure, sometimes even physical punishment. So the molecules of emotions that they felt of fear of being called witches, right, or demons, whatever it is that they were called 7 generations back, or maybe even more remote generations, they may be alive in your DNA. So it's probably coming from a deep unconscious memory, and not just because the world is still not yet very well educated about the soul, but this is maybe a very powerful ancestral fear that's in your DNA. When we talk about guilt, it's a different story, because guilt is an artificial emotion, and it's actually coming from a lack of self-permission. And I'll talk specifically about guilt in the energy healing field and owning your energy healing professional career. It tends to stem from 2 places, the guilt part. One is lack of self-permission because you fear you'll be judged by the people you love. So because you don't want to displease them, you'll feel guilty about making them upset. Maybe it's a husband, maybe it's a spouse, a wife, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a sibling, maybe it's a child. I have lots of clients whose children have lots of prejudice against energy healing, so they hold themselves back because they love their children, their loved ones more than they love themselves. So the guilt of displeasing someone you love could be in the equation. And there's also something deeper, less obvious about guilt, which is, how dare I be happy if so many people around me are unhappy? If I come from an unhappy family, if I'm surrounded by unhappy people, if I own my energy healing professional career, right? If I make a living from this, if I create a business, if I give jobs with energy healing, I'll be shining, I'll be happy. And a lot of people who are unhappy may bring me down. So it's this energy of wanting to belong to an unhappy group of people, being stronger than your freedom, than your desire to be happy. I'd rather belong to the unhappy group of people than to be happy, own my truth, and just be on my sacred path. We have these rationales. I know I went through all of it myself, and I see this a lot with my clients and students. And the third one, which is shame, this may come literally from the complicated image that energy healing has, that soul healing has in our world. But this is changing. It is becoming more respected. And the very people, believe me, this is going to happen soon. The very people that mock you, that think it's crazy, that think it's not a professional path, that don't take it seriously, will start asking questions. They will want to know more because everyone needs soul healing and energy healing. Only everybody. But not everybody wants it. Not everybody is aware of it. We lack soul education in our culture, but this is shifting. And because energy healing doesn't yet have an academic status or a scientific status, this is shifting too. The most amazing, the most well-known and the most highly qualified institutions, universities in the world do study consciousness and meditation. There's a lot of research. There's neuroscience now. There's quantum physics. There's the biology of belief. So the scientific status thing is shifting. So I wanted to bring this to you just as food for thought. We'll continue this conversation for sure in new videos. Let me know what you thought about this and how you feel about fear, guilt, and shame of owning your energy healing powers and your psychic gifts in the comments area below. Like this video, share it with people that you know can benefit from it. And if you haven't not yet signed up to our YouTube channel, you can do this now. And also to our newsletter, which brings new content for you. We always bring new things to talk about and think about. So if you sign up to our newsletter, you're gonna get all of that in your email. Thank you so much for being here. All the information is below this video, and I will see you soon.